Most dating advice tells men what to do: be confident, impress her, keep her interested. But here's the truth. Attraction isn't just about making the right moves, it's about avoiding the wrong ones. Many men believe that if they try harder, act more likable, or constantly please her, they'll win her. But certain behaviors don't just weaken attraction, they erase it. The worst part? Most men don't realize they're making these mistakes until it's too late. They wonder why she suddenly pulls away, her energy shifts, or she loses interest without warning. In today's video, we'll break down 5 significant mistakes that silently destroy attraction, and, more importantly, how to avoid them. Stick with me until the end, because once you understand this, you'll never look at dating the same way again. Let's dive in. 1. Never seek validation from her. A man who seeks validation from a woman unknowingly weakens his presence. He signals insecurity when he looks to her for approval, reassurance, or permission to express himself. This need for external affirmation manifests in many ways: constantly asking if she is upset, over-explaining his words to avoid misinterpretation, or fishing for compliments to boost his confidence. At first, she may tolerate it, even respond with kindness, but deep down, something shifts. The dynamic changes. What once felt like attraction now feels like responsibility. And no woman wants to be responsible for a man's sense of self-worth. The harsh truth is that a woman does not fall for a man who needs her validation. She is drawn to the man who already knows his value. When a man constantly seeks reassurance, she may comply for a while, but her attraction inevitably fades. She starts to see him as a burden rather than a source of excitement. Women are naturally drawn to strength. True strength comes from within, not external approval. A man who depends on her praise, who needs her to affirm his worth, forces her into a role she never wanted to play. She doesn't want to be his emotional caretaker, she wants to feel his certainty. Think of it this way: when a man enters a room with quiet confidence, he does not need to announce his presence. His energy speaks for itself. Women notice the way he moves, the way he says, the way he carries himself. There is no desperation in his voice, no hesitation in his actions. He is not scanning the room for approval or altering his behavior to fit someone else's expectations. This is the type of man who naturally attracts. In contrast, a man who constantly looks for reassurance, who asks, "Do you still like me?" or "Did I say something wrong?" creates an invisible pressure that suffocates attraction. Instead of making her feel excited to be around him, he makes her feel responsible for his emotions. And once that happens, the attraction dies. A man who understands this never places his confidence in a woman's hands. He doesn't pause to see if she laughs if he says something witty. If he makes a decision, he doesn't hesitate, waiting for her approval. His actions are firm, not because he tries to prove anything, but because he trusts himself. This is the foundation of attraction: self-assurance without arrogance, confidence without neediness. He gives validation rather than seeks it. He observes, challenges, and acknowledges her depth instead of mindlessly complimenting her looks. Instead of seeking her approval, he offers his own, but only when he truly means it. The key is detachment. A man who does not seek validation is not cold or indifferent. He simply does not rely on a woman's opinion to define his worth. He is already secure within himself, and that security is magnetic. He does not flinch when she tests him, does not panic when she pulls away, and does not crumble under pressure. And that is what draws her in. She sees a man who is whole on his own, a man who is not looking for her to complete him, but rather choosing her because he genuinely wants to. Women sense this difference immediately. A man who does not need validation carries himself with an energy that captivates. He is comfortable in his skin. He does not chase, does not beg for reassurance, does not falter in his words or actions. This does not mean he is emotionally unavailable. It means he is emotionally self-sufficient. And that is what makes him irresistible. Because a woman does not honestly want a man who seeks her validation, she wants a man whose confidence makes her crave his. 2. Never put her on a pedestal. Many men believe that treating a woman like a queen will make her see them as a king. They think that if they compliment her, always agree with her, and put her needs above theirs, she will respond with admiration and affection. But reality does not work that way. The more a man places a woman on a pedestal, the more she looks down on him. Attraction is not built through worship. It is built through respect, and a woman cannot respect a man who acts as if she is above him. When a man idolizes a woman, he creates an unbalanced dynamic. Instead of being a man she desires, he becomes someone she tolerates. Women are not drawn to men who treat them as untouchable goddesses. They are drawn to men who intrigue, challenge, and engage them. A woman does not fall for a man because he worships her. She falls for a man because of how he makes her feel when she is around him. And nothing kills attraction faster than the feeling that a man is beneath her, desperate for her approval. A man who constantly praises a woman without reason, who places her on a pedestal simply for existing, diminishes his value in her eyes. Compliments lose their meaning when they are given too freely, when they are not earned. Women do not want mindless admiration. They want to feel they have captured a man's attention because they are exceptional, not because he is willing to worship any woman who shows interest. This is why men who lack purpose and make women the center of their world without building their own often find themselves ignored or discarded. No woman wants to be the sole focus of a man's life. She wants to be drawn into a life that is already full. A man who understands this does not over-compliment. He does not treat a woman as if she is above him, but as an equal who must earn his admiration. He has goals, ambitions, and passions that do not revolve around her. He is willing to call her out when necessary, to set boundaries when she disrespects him. If she acts entitled, he does not reward her behavior, he challenges it. And this is what truly captivates a woman. She does not want a man who worships her blindly. She wants a man who knows his worth and makes her feel that being with him is a privilege, not a favor. 3. Never let her control the relationship. Women test men not to manipulate but to see what they are made of. It is not a calculated strategy, nor is it a conscious decision. It is instinct. Just as the wind tests a tree's strength, a woman naturally pressures a man to gauge his resilience. She may challenge his opinions, resist his decisions, or create moments of tension to observe his response. If he remains composed and stands firm in his beliefs without becoming defensive or angry, she feels an unspoken sense of security. This is the kind of man she can trust, the type she can surrender to. But if he wavers and scrambles to please her at the expense of his own integrity, she may not even realize it at first, but something inside her shifts. She loses respect for him. And once respect fades, attraction inevitably follows. A man surrenders control in a relationship when he prioritizes peace over his principles. He agrees with everything she says, not because he genuinely believes it, but because he fears upsetting her. He lets her make all the decisions, from where to eat to where the relationship is headed, not because he trusts her leadership but because he fears confrontation. He apologizes excessively even when he has done nothing wrong, hoping that he will keep her happy by bending. He fails to understand that every time he gives in out of fear, he weakens the very attraction that drew her to him in the first place. Women do not want a man who seeks their approval. They want a man who already knows his worth. Contrary to what modern culture may suggest, most women do not want to lead in a relationship. They may act like they do, even say they do, but deep down they crave a man who has direction and moves with purpose. Leadership does not mean control. It does not mean making decisions for her or disregarding her opinions. It means having a clear vision and standing by it. A man who leads is not a dictator, but a source of stability. When a woman senses that a man lacks direction, when she feels like she has to be the one steering the relationship, the dynamic begins to shift. At first, she may step into that role, but over time, the weight of responsibility drains her attraction. She does not want to be the one guiding him. She wants to feel the steady presence of a man who already knows where he is going. A strong man does not fear a woman's emotions. He does not crumble when she is upset, nor does he change his stance simply to pacify her. He listens, he considers, but he does not betray himself to keep the peace. If he believes in something, he stands by it, even if it means disagreement. He is willing to walk away if necessary, not as a threat, but as a testament to his self-respect. Women respect men with boundaries, and men who do not compromise their values to gain favor. This does not mean being rigid or dismissive. It means having a core that temporary emotional storms cannot shake. Imagine two men in the same situation. When faced with a woman's frustration, one man immediately backpedals, apologizes profusely, and scrambles to fix the issue, even if it means going against his own beliefs. His goal is not to resolve the situation, but to regain her approval at any cost. The second man remains calm. He acknowledges her feelings but does not let them dictate his actions. He does not rush to apologize if he has done nothing wrong. Instead, he holds his ground, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Over time, which man do you think she will respect more? Which man will she feel safer with? Which man will she desire? A woman may not always be able to articulate why she loses attraction for a man, but she feels it. She feels it when he hesitates too much before making decisions, and when he looks to her for guidance instead of confidently leading. She feels it when he seeks validation instead of standing firm in his self-worth. And she feels it when he lets her emotions dictate his actions, rather than maintaining his inner stability. A man who understands this does not seek control over a woman, he seeks control over himself. He does not demand submission, he inspires it. He does not impose his will, he naturally leads through his unwavering presence. And when a woman feels this, she does not resist. She relaxes. She trusts him. She desires him. Deep down, she truly wants not power over a man, but a man strong enough that she never feels the need to take it. 4. Never be afraid to walk away. A man's greatest strength in relationships is his ability to walk away. It is a silent power that requires no grand gestures, explanations, or emotional outbursts. The moment a man fears losing a woman, he has already lost himself. Fear makes him weak. It compels him to compromise his values, tolerate disrespect, and endure situations that diminish his self-worth. He becomes a prisoner of his own emotions, desperate to keep her, even at the cost of his dignity. But the truth is simple. The man who is most afraid to lose a woman is the one who gets left behind. and the man who is least afraid to walk away is the one who commands her most profound respect. Women are instinctively drawn to strength, not just physical but emotional. They are not attracted to men who beg for their attention, seek validation, or surrender their masculinity out of fear of losing them. Instead, they are drawn to men who stand firm and choose them, but do not need them. A man who chooses a woman is in the relationship because he genuinely wants to be, not because he fears being alone. He has standards, he has a purpose greater than chasing affection, and he will never settle for a situation where he is undervalued. The psychology behind this is undeniable. When a woman knows a man is willing to leave if his boundaries are crossed, she instinctively respects him more. She understands that he is not dependent on her for his sense of self-worth, making him even more attractive. This is why the man who walks away confidently finds that the woman he left begins to chase him, not because she was manipulated, but because his absence forces her to feel the void he once filled. She realizes that his presence is a privilege, not a right, and suddenly she questions whether she made a mistake in letting him go. But walking away is not about games or tactics. It is about self-respect. There are moments in every relationship where a man must ask himself, does she still respect me? Does she still value me? If the answer is no, then the choice is clear. A woman who disrespects you, plays manipulative games, or gradually loses interest is testing your strength, and the way you respond determines everything. If you beg, plead, or try to win her back, you reinforce her decision to walk away. You confirm that she held the power all along. But if you simply step back without explanation or hesitation, you shift the dynamic entirely. You force her to feel what it's like to be without you. And if she truly values you, she will feel that loss. The execution of walking away must be absolute. There are no second chances, no late-night texts to check in, no social media stalking, and no subtle attempts to run into her. You do not need closure. You do not need a final conversation. You simply disappear from her world as if you never existed. This is not done to punish her, it is done for yourself. A man who knows his worth does not chase. He does not wait for someone who has already shown signs of losing interest. He removes himself from situations that no longer serve him, knowing that the right woman will never require him to sacrifice his self-respect. Ultimately, a man's power is not in how much he can hold on, but in how effortlessly he can let go. Women respect men who can walk away because it signals confidence, independence, and emotional control. It proves he is complete and does not need a woman to feel whole. The irony is that the moment a man truly embraces this mindset, he becomes infinitely more attractive, because the man who walks away is the man who ultimately holds the power. 5. Never be inconsistent with who you are. Women are naturally drawn to men who embody certainty. It is not about arrogance or dominance. It is about an unwavering sense of self. A man who knows who he is does not alter his identity to fit different situations or to seek approval. He does not shift his personality depending on who he is with, nor does he adjust his values to please others. This kind of consistency creates an undeniable presence that commands respect and trust. Women may not always verbalize it, but they feel it. They are instinctively repelled by a man who lacks a stable core, bends too easily under social pressure, or shifts his beliefs just to gain favor. Inconsistency signals weakness, and weakness breeds uncertainty. A woman cannot feel safe with a man whose sense of self is fluid, because if he is not sure of himself, how can she ever be certain of him? Attraction is not just about looks or charm, it is about the foundation a man stands on. A man who constantly changes, who adapts too much, loses the very thing that makes him compelling: authenticity. Women trust a man who remains the same in all situations. A man who is relaxed and confident in private, but anxious and overly agreeable in public, reveals a lack of stability. A man who speaks about his values, but betrays them when faced with pressure, shows that his words mean nothing. And a man who starts strong in a relationship but slowly softens into insecurity, seeking reassurance, exposes his inconsistency. These things may seem subtle, but women notice them. The moment she senses that a man is not as solid as he once appeared, attraction begins to fade, not because she wants perfection, but because she needs reliability. A woman's attraction is deeply connected to how emotionally safe she feels. When a man is inconsistent, he creates emotional instability. One moment he seems confident and decisive, the next he second-guesses himself. One day he stands firm in his beliefs, the next he adjusts them to avoid conflict. Over time, this inconsistency erodes her ability to trust him. If he cannot remain steady within himself, how can she rely on him when life throws challenges their way? This is why women respect men who firmly grasp who they are. A man who is unwavering in his core identity does not need to prove himself to anyone. He does not need to seek approval or mold himself into what he thinks she wants. He simply exists in a state of self-assurance, which alone is magnetic. Consistency is not about rigidity, it is about integrity. A man must define his values and always stand by them, not just when it is convenient. If he believes in something, he should not shift his stance just because a woman challenges him. If he has a particular way of carrying himself, he should not suddenly change it depending on the situation. A woman respects a man whose actions match his words. She will notice if he says he is ambitious, but his habits reflect laziness. She will feel the disconnect if he claims to be confident but constantly seeks reassurance. And if he portrays himself as strong but folds under emotional pressure, she will lose faith in his ability to lead. Imagine two men. One enters a relationship with a clear sense of who he is. He does not alter his behavior depending on how a woman reacts. If she pulls away, he remains the same. If she challenges him, he listens but does not bend unless he genuinely sees value in her perspective. The second man, however, begins with confidence but quickly adapts based on her emotions. If she acts cold, he becomes desperate for her warmth. If she questions his beliefs, he adjusts them to align with hers. If she seems unsure about him, he overcompensates to gain her approval. The first man maintains his frame, the second man loses it. The result? The first man earns her respect and admiration, while the second gradually fades into irrelevance in her mind. A woman may be attracted to a man for many reasons, but what keeps her attraction alive is his ability to remain the same man she was drawn to in the first place. She does not want a man who fluctuates under pressure. She wants a man who remains rooted, does not let emotions dictate his actions, and does not need constant validation to feel secure. When a man embraces his consistency and refuses to compromise his core identity, he becomes someone a woman can truly rely on. And in a world of uncertainty, that is the kind of man who will always stand out. Conclusion: the man who commands respect. Attraction isn't just about what you do, but about what you refuse to tolerate. A man who constantly seeks validation places a woman above himself, allows her to dictate the relationship, fears walking away, or shifts his personality to fit in, will ultimately lose respect and attraction. Women are drawn to men who exude certainty, confidence, and an unwavering sense of self. A man who knows his worth doesn't need to prove it. He doesn't need to beg for attention, chase affection, or mold himself to please others. Instead, he stands firm in his values, leads with quiet confidence, and walks away when necessary, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. This is the kind of man a woman remembers, values, and desires, not because he tries to win her over, but because he never compromises who he is. If there's one key takeaway from this, your power lies in your ability to set and uphold standards. How you carry yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you hold firm in your convictions will determine not only how women perceive you, but how the world perceives you. When you embrace this mindset, you'll realize that you don't need to chase approval, because the right people will naturally be drawn to the strength of your presence. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed how certain behaviors either strengthen or weaken attraction? Have you experienced the shift that happens when you stop seeking approval and start living with purpose? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love your perspective. If you find this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There's so much more to explore regarding relationships, personal growth, and mastering the Stoic mindset. Stay strong, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next one.